Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast. Today is Monday, February 3rd, 2020. I'm just going to get right into it because it's a big deal. Obviously, the Super Bowl last night, and the Kansas City Chiefs came out victorious over the San Francisco 49ers by a score of 31-20. It was an entertaining game, but it wasn't the best Super Bowl ever, as the Chiefs break their 50-year championship drought. Andy Reid's reputation has changed with the Super Bowl victory. There is now a Hall of Fame case to be made now for Andy Reid. The Patrick Mahomes is going to be the greatest quarterback of all time debate is going to start trickling in if he wins a couple more Super Bowls. Or will he end up being the greatest of all time? I think that's the one that's actually starting right now, if you ask me. And speaking of Mahomes, he was the Super Bowl MVP. 26 of 42, 286 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 picks. Jimmy Garoppolo, 20 of 31, 219 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Raheem Mostert, 12 carries, 58 yards, and a touchdown. Damian Williams, 17 carries, 104 yards, and a touchdown. Kendrick Bourne, 2 receptions for 42 yards, led the Niners in receiving. And Tyreek Hill, 9 receptions for 105 yards. First quarter, Robbie Gould, 38-yard field goal, 3-0 Niners, with 31 seconds left in the first quarter. Patrick Mahomes, 1-yard run. Harrison Butker kick, 7-3 Kansas City. Second quarter, Harrison Butker field goal, 31 yards, 10-3. Jimmy Garoppolo, 15 yards to Kyle Juszczyk, 10-10. Third quarter, field goal, Robbie Gould, 42 yards, 13-10. Raheem Mostert, 1-yard run, 20-10 Niners. Fourth quarter, here come the Chiefs. 1 yard from Mahomes to Travis Kelce, 2017 San Francisco. Then with 2 minutes and 44 seconds left in the game, Damian Williams, 5-yard pass from Mahomes, makes it 24-20 Chiefs, as the Chiefs would get their first lead of the second half. And then they get the garbage time touchdown at the end to make it 31-20 on a 38-yard run by Damian Williams to put the Super Bowl out of reach for the 49ers. So this was like I said, an entertaining but not the greatest Super Bowl ever. Mahomes was awesome. Jimmy Garoppolo just couldn't make the throws when it mattered. I think that Kyle Shanahan stopped believing in Garoppolo and kept running the ball, and his failure of not using timeouts really came back to haunt him here. Garoppolo obviously made some mistakes. Obviously, I think he went out of bounds to stop the clock, which wasn't good, which allowed the Chiefs to not use a timeout. So there's a lot of things you can point at and say, oh, that cost the Niners, that cost the Niners. And the Niners were the better team most of the game. They held that Chiefs offense in check until the fourth quarter. And Patrick Mahomes just found a way to get it done. And that's his case for the Super Bowl MVP. So overall, a good game, but not a great game. And not one of the greatest of all times. But at most, I'd say a very good game, to say the least. Now I want to talk about prop bets from the Super Bowl that hit and other things that I want to touch on. So the national anthem, Demi Lovato, went under. It was, I believe, 125 seconds, which alludes to 2 minutes and 5 seconds, was the over-under. So that went easily under. The coin toss was tails. So hashtag tails never fails. So that hit. In terms of halftime show, the first song was She-Wolf. That was a plus 250 favorite, if I'm not mistaken. So there must have been inside information that Shakira was going to open with She-Wolf. And then she brought back some of her old hits like Whenever, Wherever and Hips Don't Lie. It was a pretty entertaining halftime show if you ask me. I think that J-Lo bringing out her daughter was very special. J-Lo's first song was Jenny from the Block, which was predictable. I thought it would either be that or Let's Get Loud, but Let's Get Loud was towards the end of the show. She sang On the Floor, which she thought she was going to do. She brought back some old hits like Ain't That Funny, but it was a little disappointing to some folks that Ja Rule didn't come out for that. She sang Get Right. And it was a fun show. Fun halftime show. Then in terms of like game prop bets, I mentioned the coin toss. At the end of Gatorade Shower was orange. Purple was a heavy favorite. Or heavy in terms of popular coming into the Super Bowl, because there's the theory that it was going to be purple because of Kobe Bryant, but ended up being orange, which makes some sense. So that was the favorite before all the theories about Kobe came out. So if you got orange at a good number, good for you. I had the yellow, lime green, that was plus 650. That did not cash for me. Anything else that I wanted to touch on in terms of props? The first kickoff, or the opening kickoff of the game not resulting in a touchback was plus money. That's something that was a good payout for those who bet that. The first touchdown of the game was scored by Patrick Mahomes via rushing touchdown. So I don't think many people had that one. So whoever had that one, good for you. And I think Mahomes was 7-1 to score a touchdown in the game at any point. So the first touchdown of the game, that's pretty good that for those who got that one. One that I hit was DeForest Buckner to have the first sack at 8-1. Joey Bosa was a popular pick for that one. I ended up going outside the box with Buckner. He recorded a half sack with somebody else, and then they ended up paying out both those players. I wasn't sure how they were going to do that, but they ended up paying out both those players. So that one hit. So overall, an interesting Super Bowl from a prop standpoint in terms of the game and novelties as well. There was no missed extra point or no missed field goals, no kicks hitting the upright. That would have been a fun prop bet to hit. Kyle Juszczyk to score a touchdown was a hit for those who had that, because that was a pretty popular one going into the Super Bowl. I know somebody that had Kyle Juszczyk at 40-1 to score the first touchdown. So that was another fun one to follow, because Juszczyk is someone that really people underestimated, I feel like, coming into the Super Bowl, being a big part of the Niners offense. Travis Kelce is somebody that a lot of people were interested in from a prop bet standpoint, as well as Raheem Mostert. Raheem Mostert went under rushing yards. Travis Kelce went under. Damian Williams went under. Sammy Watkins went over. Damian Williams, went over. For receiving yards, I read off the 29. That's what I meant to say. I meant to say that he went over for rushing yards. Receiving yards, I think he went over as well. I just read the 29 thinking that was his rushing yards, but that was really receiving yards. So Mostert went under. Tevin Coleman went over. Deebo Samuel went under. Deebo Samuel did go under. Juszczyk went over in receiving yards. He didn't have a rushing yard, surprisingly. Jeff Wilson Jr. went over. He had a 20-yard run. George Kittle went under in receiving yards. Jimmy Garoppolo went under in passing yards, and so did Patrick Mahomes. So that's it in terms of the player prop bets of the big game. After the big game, season 3 of The Masked Singer premiered afterward. It was very intriguing. There was some speculation that some football players and some ex-football players were going to be on this season, and there was some speculation that one of them was going to get booted off the show and that there was going to be rigged so a football player can get knocked off in the Super Bowl, but obviously it turned out to not be rigged, and I don't think Fox would ever do that. Fox is a good company, so I don't think they would ever rig a reality television show like that. And Nick Cannon picked something up. He said that within the 6 contestants that were on last night, there were combined 9 Super Bowls. And obviously, the person who got booted off last night does not own a Super Bowl ring. It was rapper Lil Wayne, who I correctly predicted was under the robot mask. It just sounded a lot like him in his hit song Lollipop and other songs he has and other songs he's featured in, like Let It Rock with Kevin Rudolph and Forever with Eminem and all those guys in that song from 2010. I just recognized Lil Wayne's voice. I was like, oh, that's Lil Wayne. And then I ended up being correct. The other contestants, for the most part, I thought were pretty good. I actually thought that the llama was going to get sent off. There were hints about DJ and radio and Seattle. This is obviously, I think, a DJ, and I think that it's either Adam Carolla or Howard Stern. The White Tiger is obviously a football player because he talks about rings and there's a hint about 7 years. There's lockers. Clam shucking, which relates to New England. He mentioned Giant. So there was speculation of Giant Michael Strahan, former Giant Michael Strahan, current Fox employee. Clam shuckling is obviously a New England reference, and Michael Strahan was on that Giants team that beat the Patriots. And then there was some speculation that it could be Rob Gronkowski because he, like Strahan, is a Super Bowl champion. He's strong. Obviously, the New England reference of clam shuckling. And then there's a number 51 involved, which I thought was a little suspicious. So the White Tiger, I would say it's either Rob Gronkowski or Michael Strahan. The turtle was pretty good. There was some interesting guesses. That's the one I'm confused by a little bit. There's some bunny ears. They showed a football field with the track around it, surfing. There was a leather jacket. There was a grill. There's a lot of speculation that could be Joey McIntyre of New Kids on the Block. So it could be him. There's some speculation that it could be his former bandmate, Donnie Wahlberg, who is the husband of Jenny McCarthy. That would be a fun plot twist if Jenny McCarthy's husband, obviously McCarthy's a judge on the show, would be on the show. There was speculation that he was the rabbit in season 1. Oh, wait a minute. That's interesting, because everyone thought that he was the rabbit in season 1, and ended up being Joey Fatone. Maybe that's the rabbit hit. It could be Donnie Wahlberg, but Joey McIntyre, I think, could be it. He's a really good singer. Miss Monster's interesting. I think it's somebody from the 60s and 70s genre, like that Patti LaBelle, Gladys Knight. She's this season's version of that. It's obviously not Gladys or Patti LaBelle, because those two are obviously on those first 2 seasons. There's speculation that it could be Wanda Sykes. I think it could be Donna Summer, Dee Womack, or even Shaka Khan. Ken Jeong had a guess of Dolly Parton, which I don't think it's Dolly Parton. That would be weird. But yeah, I think it's somebody from like that 60s, 70s R&B genre. And obviously the robot got voted off. It was Lil Wayne. Nicole Scherzinger, I thought, had the closest guess. She guessed Floyd Mayweather, the boxer. But it wasn't Mayweather. It ended up being Lil Wayne, like I thought. And none of the judges guessed Lil Wayne. And Jamie Foxx was a guest judge, and I'm stunned that he didn't pick this up, because Lil Wayne and Jamie Foxx come from like that same era of rap music for the most part, and I'm stunned that Jamie Foxx didn't pick that up. And by the way, that was awesome that they had him as a judge, because there was obviously speculation that he was the monster in season 1, the fox in season 2, or even the leopard in season 2 as well. So I thought that was pretty neat. And Jenny McCarthy thought it was Johnny Knoxville. Jamie Foxx thought it was Steve Ohm. Ken Jeong came close. He thought it was Flavor Flav. So I got to give Ken Jeong some credit there. And Robin Thicke thought it was Sean Wayne. And ended up being Lil Wayne. And I was correct on that one. The kangaroo, I thought was the best one from last night. She talked about how she was a survivor. She is trying to recover from a loss she had. She's been in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. She had boxing gloves as well. I think it's Kelly Rowland, because she said the phrase, "I'm a survivor," which is obviously the famous Destiny's Child song. Nicole Scherzinger also said Kelly Rowland. Jenny McCarthy thinks it could be Jordan Sparks. That would be interesting because she was away for a while. So, should be a fun season. There's another show on Wednesday night, so we'll talk about more of this on Thursday's show, because I don't know if they're going to have these same characters on Wednesday night or if it's a whole different set of 6 characters, because there's 18 characters on this show. I know there's a banana costume that is going to be on the show, which is either going to be on the next 6 or the 6 that come after it. So it should be a fun season, and we'll discuss on Thursday's podcast who gets voted off and other thoughts I have on the show. Now we'll talk college basketball. We'll go over the results from the weekend, and we'll look ahead to tonight's slate of games. So without further ado, here we go. We'll start Friday night. Penn over Harvard, 75-72 in overtime. Kent State over Akron, 68-67. Brown over Cornell, 74-63. Bowling Green over Buffalo, 78-77. Oakland over Detroit, 77-64. Quinnipiac over Canisius, 90-73. Rider over Fairfield, 68-52. Rhode Island over VCU, 87-75. Siena over Iona, 87-64. St. Peter's over Manhattan, 70-53. Marist over Niagara, 67-48. Yale over Columbia, 93-62. Princeton over Dartmouth, 66-44. Wright State over Milwaukee, 65-61. And Northern Kentucky over Green Bay, 71-62. Saturday, Xavier upsets number 10 Seton Hall, 74-62. Creighton upsets number 8 Villanova, 76-61. Number 22 LSU over Ole Miss, 73-63. St. Francis, Pennsylvania over Bryant, 84-64. FIU over Western Kentucky, 81-76. Ohio State over Indiana, 68-59. Notre Dame over Georgia Tech, 80-72. Hartford over Maine, 55-49. Wisconsin upsets number 14 Michigan State, 64-63. Memphis over UConn, 70-63. Georgia over Texas A&M, 63-48. Ball State over Ohio, 65-54. Robert Morris over Central Connecticut State, 64-57. UMKC over Chicago State, 69-51. Number 6 Louisville over NC State, 77-57. Number 12 West Virginia over Kansas State, 66-57. Providence upsets number 16 Butler, 65-61. Delaware over Coppin State, 77-68, or Delaware State, I should say. Troy over Georgia State, 84-78. Western Carolina over Chattanooga, 64-61. Texas over Iowa State, 72-68. Winthrop over UNC Asheville, 104-71. BU over Bucknell, 77-57. Mississippi State over Tennessee, 86-73. Marquette over DePaul, 76-72. Charleston over Towson, 79-70. Drexel loses at Delaware, 80-72. Lafayette over American, 82-70. Eastern Michigan over Toledo, 61-57. Colgate over Holy Cross, 73-64. Central Michigan beats Western Michigan State, 85-78. Northern Iowa beats Evansville, 80-68. UIC over Cleveland State, 64-62. Oklahoma over Oklahoma State, 82-69. Little Rock over App State, 93-86. Morehead State over Tennessee Martin, 85-77. Texas Arlington over Louisiana Monroe, 68-54. Charlotte loses at Southern Miss, 74-68 in overtime. Rice over North Texas, 84-75. Fairleigh Dickinson over Mount St. Mary's, 85-75. South Carolina over Mizzou, 76-54. Number 1 Baylor over TCU, 68-52. Number 2, Gonzaga over San Francisco, 83-79. Number 3, Kansas over Texas Tech, 78-75. Number 5, Florida State over Virginia Tech, 74-63. Florida A&M over Bethune-Cookman, 73-67. NCAT over Norfolk State, 74-68. NC Central over SC State, 73-56. Eastern Kentucky over Southeast Missouri State, 70-57. South Alabama over Georgia Southern, 79-69. East Tennessee State over UNC Greensboro, 82-65. FE over Marshall, 91-73. Middle Tennessee over UTSA, 83-80. Merrimack over Long Island, 70-59. Sacred Heart over St. Francis Brooklyn, 83-76. St. Bonaventure over George Mason, 74-65. Radford over Charleston Southern, 77-74 in overtime. Hampton over Presbyterian, 87-81 in overtime. Cal Baptist over Seattle, 72-65. Cal over Oregon State, 69-67. Elan over Northeastern, 74-69. James Madison over UNC Wilmington, 83-66. South Florida over UCF, 64-48. Northern Arizona over Idaho, 77-72. Hofstra over William & Mary, 83-60. Indiana State over Missouri State, 78-68. Colorado State over UNLV, 95-77. Northern Illinois over Miami of Ohio, 70-55. Central Arkansas over Northwestern State, 79-71. Morgan State over Howard, 83-89. Number 7, Dayton over Fordham, 70-56. Michigan over number 25, Rutgers, 69-63. Mercer over the Citadel, 76-71. Ossipee over Eastern Illinois, 68-64. Lamar over McNeese, 96-91. Longwood over Gardner-Webb, 84-81 in overtime. USC Upstate over Campbell, 91-74. Stetson over Lipscomb, 55-53. Loyola Maryland over Navy, 79-73. New Orleans over Southeast Louisiana, 84-73. Fresno over New Mexico, 82-77. Wyoming over San Jose State, 71-66. Belmont over Jacksonville State, 78-64. North Florida over Kennesaw State, 86-45. Coastal Carolina over Arkansas State, 83-77. Louisiana Tech over Old Dominion, 76-73. Texas State over Louisiana, 76-66. Jackson State over Mississippi Valley State, 85-65. UMass Lowell over New Hampshire, 77-75. Stanford over number 11 Oregon, 70-60. Number 17 Auburn over number 13 Kentucky, 75-66. Cincinnati over number 21 Houston, 64-62. Tulsa over number 23 Wichita State, 54-51 on a buzzer beater 3. That was a cool ending. Jacksonville over North Alabama, 85-83. Temple over East Carolina, 76-64. Boston College over North Carolina, 71-70. Arkansas over Alabama, 82-78. Penn over Dartmouth, 54-46. Princeton over Harvard, 70-69. Brown over Columbia, 72-66. Southern Illinois over Drake, 79-72. Richmond over George Washington, 76-54. Pepperdine over Loyola Marymount, 68-67 in overtime. Youngstown State over IUPUI, 91-76. Stephen F. Austin over Sam Houston State, 81-76. St. Joe's over St. Louis, or vice versa, 78-73. Southern over Alcorn State, 93-82. Number 24, Penn State over Nebraska, 76-64. Wofford over Sanford, 80-56. Liberty over Florida Gulf Coast, 61-46. Vermont over Albany, 86-75. Yale over Cornell, 86-71. Army over Lehigh, 80-79. UC Santa Barbara over Long Beach State, 87-62. North Dakota State over Purdue Fort Wayne, 71-60. Alabama State over Prairie View, 52-49. Texas Southern over Alabama A&M, 82-73. Stony Brook over UMBC, 74-63. Number 9 Duke over Syracuse, 97-88. Grambling over Arkansas Pine Bluff, 49-47. SMU over Tulane, 82-67. Texas Rio Grande over Cal State Bakersfield, 70-59. South Dakota State over Western Illinois, 71-61. Oral Roberts over Denver, 86-77. Murray State over SIU Edwardsville, 74-55. Santa Clara over Portland, 85-61. Abilene Christian over Incarnate Word, 72-58. UC Davis over Cal Poly, 66-51. Loyola Chicago over Bradley, 62-51. Houston Baptist over A&M Corpus Christi, 82-77. Valpo over Illinois State, 80-70. Arizona over Washington State, 66-49. Davidson over UMass, 85-50. Wake over Clemson, 56-44. Tennessee State over Tennessee Tech, 72-67 in overtime. Florida over Vandy, 61-55. New Mexico State over Grand Canyon, 72-52. Purdue over Northwestern, 61-58. Montana State over Montana, or vice versa. Montana over Montana State, 78-64. Northern Colorado over Weber State, 70-52. Southern Utah over Idaho State, 80-75. UAB over UTEP, 69-55. Number 4 San Diego State over Utah State, 80-68. Boise State over Nevada, 73-64. BYU over St. Mary's, 81-79. Pacific over San Diego, 66-58. Eastern Washington over Sacramento State, 59-54. Number 20 Colorado over USC, 78-57. UC Irvine over Cal State Fullerton, 91-61. Arizona State over Washington, 87-83. And Hawaii over Cal State Northridge, 80-75. Sunday, not a big slate. Pitt over Miami, 62-57. Manhattan over Iona, 72-49. Number 18 Iowa over number 19 Illinois, 72-65. Monmouth over Rider, 90-84. Niagara over Quinnipiac, 75-59. Georgetown over St. John, 73-72. South Dakota over Omaha, 81-80. Green Bay over Wright State, 92-89. Northern Kentucky over Milwaukee, 65-56. Canisius over Marist, 66-65. Duquesne over LaSalle, 71-69. UCLA over Utah, 73-57. And St. Peter's over Siena, 85-80. Tonight's slate is small for a post-Super Bowl Monday. 7 o'clock on ESPN, North Carolina at number 8, Florida State. Florida State's a 9-point favorite. I don't feel good about it, but I'm going to lay the 9 with Florida State. Cole Anthony back for Carolina, so there's a case for Carolina that they're undervalued here. But that was a terrible loss to Boston College. I know it was at the end of the game, and it was the last second shot, yada yada. Bad loss. They're not making the tournament. Cole Anthony's going to regret coming back unless they somehow win the auto bid in the ACC. So, give me Florida State -9. ESPNU at 7 o'clock, Norfolk State at NC Central. NC Central's a 3-point favorite. I'd take the points with Norfolk State. I'd make NC Central a 1-point favorite. So, give me Norfolk plus the 3. CBS Sports Network, Lafayette at Bucknell. Bucknell's a 2-point favorite. I have Lafayette actually as a 1-point favorite, so I'm taking Lafayette plus the 2. Lafayette's winning the game outright. 7:30, Coppin State, Howard, SC State, NC A&T. Maryland Eastern, Delaware State. 8 o'clock, Eastern Washington, Northern Arizona. 8:30, Texas Southern, Alabama State. Grambling, Mississippi Valley State. Prairie View, Alabama A&M. Jackson State, Arkansas Pine Bluff. 9 o'clock, ESPN2, number 1 Baylor at Kansas State. Baylor's a 7.5-point favorite. I'm going to take Kansas State plus the 7.5. I'd make this Baylor by 6. So I feel like I'm getting value with the 1.5. Kansas State did upset West Virginia, who is a good team in this conference as well. So I think that Kansas State could be competitive at least with Baylor. So as dominant as Baylor has been destroying everybody, they got to fade at some point. So give me Kansas State plus the points. I have a 1.5 difference here on my sheet. At 9 o'clock on the mothership, ESPN, Texas at number 3, Kansas. Kansas is a 14.5-point favorite. I love Texas getting the points. I think Texas is undervalued here. No, they're not going to win the game outright, but I do think that this is a competitive game, and I think that Texas has an outside shot at making the tournament, but if they win this game, they're making the tournament, no doubt about it. But I don't think they'll win, but I just think this is a competitive game just to show people that they're not a bad team whatsoever. So give me Texas plus the 14.5. And then at 10 o'clock, you have Idaho at Sacramento State. Now we'll talk some NBA. Go over the results from the weekend first. Raptors over the Pistons, 105-92. This is Friday night. Nets over the Bulls, 133-118. Rockets over the Mavs, 128-121. Pelicans over the Grizzlies, 139-111. Nuggets over the Bucks, 127-115. Thunder over the Suns, 111-107. And the Blazers over the Lakers, 127-119. In the Lakers' first home game since the passing of Kobe Bryant. Saturday, Clippers over the Timberwolves, 118-106. So good bounce back win for the Clippers after losing their first home game since the passing of Kobe Bryant. Heat over the Magic, 102-89. Knicks over the Pacers, 92-85. Wizards over the Nets, 113-107. Warriors over the Cavs, 131-112. Mavs over the Hawks, 123-100. Celtics over the Sixers, 116-95 on Saturday primetime. Spurs over the Hornets, 114-90. Lakers over the Kings, 129-113. And the Blazers over the Jazz, 124-107. Sunday, Pistons over the Nuggets 128-123 in overtime. Rockets over the Pelicans 117-109. Bucks over the Suns 129-108. And the Raptors over the Bulls 129-102. Tonight's games, it's a big slate tonight for post-Super Bowl Monday for NBA. 7 o'clock, you have the Knicks at the Cavs, the Warriors at the Wizards, the Magic at the Hornets, the Mavs at the Pacers. 7:30, the Suns at the Nets, the Celtics at the Hawks. NBA TV, 76ers at the Heat. 8 o'clock, the Pistons at the Grizzlies, and NBA TV at 10:30, the Spurs at the Clippers. Now I'll do NHL from the weekend. We're going to start with Friday night. Rangers over the Red Wings 4-2. Pens over the Flyers 4-3 in overtime. Caps over the Sens 5-3. Golden Knights over the Hurricanes 4-3. Bruins over the Jets 2-1. Oilers over the Blues 4-2. And Lightning over the Ducks 4-3. Saturday, Sabres over the Blue Jackets 2-1 in overtime. Canucks over the Islanders 4-3 in overtime. Canadiens over the Panthers 4-0. Maple Leafs over the Senators 2-1 in overtime. Stars over the Devils 3-2 in overtime. Devils honored the 2000 Stanley Cup team. It was the 20-year anniversary. Rangers over the Red Wings 1-0. Flyers over the Avs 6-3. Jets over the Blues 5-3. Golden Knights over the Predators 3-0. Bruins over the Wild 6-1. Blackhawks over the Coyotes 3-2 in a shootout. Oilers over the Flames 8-3. Ducks over the Kings 3-1. And Lightning over the Sharks 3-0. Yesterday's finals, Penguins over the Capitals 4-3 on the big NBC game. Blue Jackets over the Canadiens 4-3, and the Hurricanes over the Canucks 4-3 in a shootout. Tonight's slate, only 3 games. 7 o'clock, the Stars at the Rangers, the Panthers at the Maple Leafs, and on NBCSN tonight, the Flyers at the Red Wings. Why are the Red Wings on NBCSN? They are one of the worst teams I've ever seen. Especially for a original 6 popular team like them. Like, come on. I think they're getting respect from their past. Like, I mentioned this on my podcast not that long ago when the Kings were on national TV. The Kings and Red Wings are getting respect from their past. Both those teams are terrible and they're rebuilding. The Blackhawks and the Rangers are not that good, but they're getting too much respect from NBCSN. Meanwhile, the Blackhawks, I think, are overdue for a rebuild. But at least the Rangers have a direction for their future and have, like, admittedly open to rebuilding, unlike the Blackhawks, unlike the Kings. The Red Wings are rebuilding and they know it, but it's going to take a while, but they're really bad and shouldn't be on national TV. The Flyers are going to smoke them tonight. Now we're going to talk tennis. We're going to start on the men's side. On Saturday night, 2-seeded Novak Djokovic defeated 5-seeded Dominic Thiem in 5 sets. It was a fantastic match. I knew that Djokovic was going to win. I told everybody that the Federer-Djokovic match on Thursday was going to be the de facto final, that the winner of that match was going to win the whole thing. But credit to Thiem for being competitive with Djokovic and having a chance. But Djokovic is the best men's player on the planet. He somehow is not number one. Nadal took it from him because Nadal won one of those tournaments last year to take it. But Djokovic is the best men's tennis player on the planet right now, so you knew that he was going to win this tournament. And on the women's side, 14-seeded Sofia Kenin defeated Gabriela Muguruza in 3 sets. Muguruza was actually favored to win the match. I picked her to win the match, not knowing that she was a favorite. But she closed as a pretty significant favorite, too. It was like minus 150. So for those who had plus money on Sofia Kenin, knew was the 14th ranked women's tennis player right now. Congratulations. But good for Sofia Kenin. She's a good player. She's certainly going to move up the rankings after this. And Muguruza really made a name for herself in this tournament. We've been seeing, especially in the women's side over the past year or so, these breakthrough tennis athletes like Coco Gauff, and then this time around you get Muguruza. You see some on the men's side, but it's been more common in the women's side over the last year or so. So congratulations to Sofia Kenin on the Women's Australian Open victory. Now we're going to talk a little golf. Webb Simpson rallies to beat Tony Finau in the Phoenix playoff. And good for Webb Simpson. He was actually tied with Fianu, but on hole 18, Simpson came out victorious. Third place was a three-way tie with the minus 14 of Justin Thomas, Bubba Watson, and Lashley. You had a two-way tie for sixth place with Piercy and Homa. Among notables, John Rahm was in a tie for ninth. Xavier Schauffele was in a tie for 16th. Tiger did not play in this tournament. Ricky Fowler was in a tie for 37th. John Hamm was in a tie for 25th. I'm trying to see if there's any players that failed to make a cut that are notable. Yes, Ricky Palmer. That's a big name that failed to make the cut at -1. So that's disappointing for him. And he was like the only notable golfer that failed to make the cut in the Scottsdale tournament. And now my best bets of the day, brought to you by FanDuel. I have a college basketball one and an NBA one. For the college one, I'm going to take Texas plus the 14.5 against Kentucky, against Kansas. I think that Kansas is overvalued at that number. They've been giving double digits at home against either solid or above average, very above average teams a lot, and they failed to cover. West Virginia covered against them. Baylor won outright at Kansas. Texas Tech easily covered at Kansas, and Texas is worse than those three teams, obviously, but they're not terrible. So I think that they're going to cover that number at 14.5 pretty easily. I think that Kansas is going to win this game by like 8 or 9 points. And it's still sitting there at plus 14.5, and the juice is going towards Texas. So it's probably going to move to 14 at some point. So I'm lucky I got it at the number I got it at. And then in terms of an NBA best bet, there's a couple ones that I liked, but the one that stood out to me the most was the Boston Celtics. Mine actually went down a point and a half, so that's not good for me. They're giving 5 at Atlanta. It was 6.5 and went down to 5. There must be somebody injured. It might be Kemba Walker. But I don't think they're going to miss him all that much in this spot. I know Philly lost outright at Atlanta a couple days ago. It might have been a few weeks ago, but it was a couple days ago. It felt like a couple weeks ago. But I like the Celtics. I think that they can win this game by double digits, regardless of Kemba Walker. I think Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and Gordon Hayward will lead the way. I think Enes Kanter can get a double-double. Daniel Tice has been pretty solid for the Celtics, and I think that their backup point guards are not terrible. So give me the Boston Celtics minus the 6.5 I got it at. I still think they can cover that 6.5, even though it went down to 5 against the Atlanta Hawks. So that's it for today's show. I'll be back tomorrow recapping college basketball, NBA, and NHL, looking ahead to tomorrow's slate. I may or may not be on somebody else's podcast tomorrow night. I'll explain more on tomorrow's show. So hope you guys have a great day, everybody.